Hello, checking in with Chapter 5 of the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, Hstr at Her Needle, which Hstr has been released, gets released from her imprisonment after having spent her period of time of pedestal of shame in the public square for her sins of obviously sex out of wedlock, as evidenced by the baby girl. Um, Ends up in an abandoned cottage from an earlier time where the ground wasn't there wasn't enough to be able to grow stuff on, and was also too far away from town. All things are which sort of suit Hstr Prynne pretty well. She makes her living by her embroidery. Key example of that, a fabulous, amazing embroidery being the Scarlet Letter, the Scarlet A. I don't think, do they say A? I can't remember, but it's the Scarlet Letter of A, adulterer, because she's married to some guy who, as far as everyone else thinks, is somewhere far, far away, is back in England, but actually visited her in the last chapter in the interview. And she actually makes a fine living at it. You would think this austere kind of, grim Puritans who disdain all finery would not have any use for somebody doing fine embroidery, but they actually make an exception for great matters matters of ritual pomp and ceremony. The magistrate, the mayor, all these people want investitures of their office, so she's able to make stuff for that. She also makes stuff for she makes stuff for her own child. That's the one area where she has a little bit of brightness in her life. For herself, she wears very grim, all the Puritan wear, except for that scarlet letter, which seems to actually physically burn on her chest at all times. But they do make the point that she doesn't make anything for wedding dresses. The purity, the virginity of the bride, the fidelity of a bride, which is something that she has broken. So that is barred to her. Hawthorne's narrator, says like, well, she could have left. She could have just, could have gone back to England, could have gone into the woods, joined up with native peoples, where they don't have, maybe they don't have the similar sanctions, or she could have gone back to England, assumed a different identity, and no one would know the difference. She could have lived like without this, but says that there's something about the power of this moment, that people, it's not unheard of that people will stay in a place where something horrible has happened, but it's something that's incredibly powerful has happened to them, and it shackles them to that place, and it seems to have done it there. And there's also the thing of staying close to somebody, the person that she's had this baby with, that in the end she will face final judgment with, in the afterlife, have to stand besides the ultimate judge for their actions. So there is that. So she's staying, and she does feel the brunt of the displeasure of the community, the shame, the ostracization, children following her and shouting the word that they've heard. They don't know what it means, but it's just babbling it, which she finds as disturbing as if the woods or the wind were able to talk it. It's like, it's very much like as if nature itself has learned. It's gotten that deeply imbued into her world that it's everything around her knows. But she makes clothing for the poor as a part of her kind of a charity thing to do, and they scorn her heavily, as at the very same time that they take her charity. And the high women make a point of, whether it's through kind of small, kind of passive aggressive acts or just direct things, of reminding her that they know who she is. And each time she doesn't develop a callus. It continues to burn. It continues to hurt her. continually, and perhaps a part of that is that she is somebody who does have um, that imagination and that kind of passion that she doesn't it doesn't just kind of blur or something like that. She feels it keenly at all times. And one of the special torments that she seems to have is that she seems to have found a kind of power, a special power that she has developed, a sympathy for people who are like herself, at being able to almost sense them, like the Scarlet Letter itself throbs in certain people's presence. And it's like, it could be the most kind of pious. There's a woman who packs snow in her bosom, and it's like there's a part of her that knows, like, how different are you and I? And this really disturbs her. She wants to really believe that no one has sinned as much as she's sinned. She wants to hold on to that belief, because if it doesn't, it's like, well, how fallen, how sinful is the whole society, and not just her. She wants it to be. She wants it to be just her, just her. Um, and this is where we get into a word that I stumbled over as I read it. Um, of lifting her reluctant eyes, there would be nothing human within scope of view, save the form of this earthly saint, one of these saintly, pious people that she's seen. Again, a mystic sisterhood would contumaciously assert itself as she met the sanctified frown of some matron who, according to the rumor of all tongues, had kept cold snow within her bosom throughout life. That unsunned snow in the matron's bosom, and the burning shame on Hstr Prynne's, what had the two in common? Or, once more, the electric thrill would give her warning, behold, Hstr, here is a companion. And this word, contumaciously, is it's archaic, or the law, and especially of defendant's behavior, and it means stubbornly or willfully disobedient to authority. So there's all this authority that is telling her that it is her. She is the one. She is the one who's been singled out as, you are the sinner. But there's this stubborn, willful part of her that sees, oh, this pure matron who packs snow between her breasts, that is a fellow, that is a companion, that is somebody who is like me. And I love that it's one of these, it comes from the 16th century, and it's got that whole thing of the law and stubbornly or willfully disobedient to authority. It's like, it's interesting that there's that urge in her. It's funny how this is, and this narrative here keeps on referring to her as a martyr, that she is a martyr in this situation, which is odd way to describe somebody who has been accused of adultery, and is an adulteress, and has been cast out of her society for it. Not even cast out of her society, but is branded for it, and has been looked down upon and held up as an example to be shown to young women of, like, don't go this way. And it's like one of these things of, like, what is it? What is the society threatening? It's like, don't sin, or else we'll do this to you too. It's a threat. Is this actually a Christian way to behave for this highly Christian society? So yeah. As I'm reading it, God, the language. Nathaniel Hawthorne has never met a comma that he didn't love. There's so many commas in here, and reading it out loud, you start to learn how to just, like, okay, don't treat that as a modern comma where it actually is a pause and breath, but it's just a pretty much, you continue on. I could see a modern editor just going, yeah, we don't need this one, we don't need this one, we don't need this one, because as I read it, I'm sort of doing that. I'm doing that mentally, but it reads wonderfully. It's rolling, very kind of it's a different pace than modern writing. It's definitely a stately, beautiful narration here. I mean, he is definitely telling you a lot of stuff. This isn't like quick dramatic scenes. You're gonna spend some time sinking into Hstr Prynne and hearing what's going on behind your thing. I can see this being fiendishly hard to dramatize, or if you'd have to find a lot of non-verbal ways to do what this text is telling you as is going on, but it's telling you it's so kind of unctuous and beautiful. It's like it's kind of baroquely austere, very kind of romantic indeed. So yeah, obviously early days in the Scarlet Letter, but I'm quite enjoying it so far. I've been Jay. More videos later.